would like to thank everyone to come to the Mentor Series tonight. My name is Angie Walasek, and I am the Mentor Series coordinator here at the RVA. Tonight's Mentor Series is on executive functioning and social emotional development. We have two of our very own, Amanda Kletti and Jessica Murphy, that will be leading this presentation.
Good evening, everyone. It's so nice to be here and being invited to speak with everybody and communicate with everyone. Amanda and I are so happy to be here. So we're going to be speaking on executive functioning skills and social and emotional development tonight. I'm Jessica Murphy. I'm one of the two OTs, as Angie had mentioned. And this is my second year with the RVA and my 19th year as a school-based OT. I live in Hartford, Wisconsin, which is about a half hour from Milwaukee. My husband and I are empty nesters, and in our free time, we like to spend time on our friend's farm, volunteering at our church, and then spending time with friends and family.
So I am Amanda Kletti. I am the other occupational therapist that works within the RVA. And I've been an OT for about 10 years. I am the proud matriarch of a neurodivergent family, twice gifted, you might have heard, or neurospicy, depending on what your experience is in the world. And I'm also a self-advocate. In my career, I've worked in many different settings, from orthopedics to community family mental health. I've taught at the university level, and I've also worked in the public school setting. And working as a part of a school family has been by far my most cherished and meaningful professional experience. It is truly a work of heart for me that I plan to continue for the rest of my working years. I am originally from the Fox Valley area. I'm currently living in the East Coast with my husband, Andy, and my son, Adam. There's a picture of him there on his last day of kindergarten. We are a hybrid nomadic family, which means that we live on our sailboat part-time from April until October-ish, depending on the weather. We also have two adorable cats that kind of show up in my work all the time as well.
Okay, next, we're going to just go over briefly what OT is and what it is in the RVA. So OTs work with students to improve their performance in learning environments throughout their school day. So we're school-based occupational therapists. I'm sure you've heard of occupational therapists working in clinics and hospitals, but because we're school-based, we look at the school day, the classroom, play, using the bathroom in building. We look at using the cafeteria, things like that. So we also attempt to optimize their performance through specific adaptations and accommodations, and work with families, work with all of our case managers. So in the schools, OT is only part of a special ed program. So we can only be part of an individualized education plan. So we assist case managers, parents, other therapists in different areas we can work in and support our executive functioning, fine motor skills, mental health, some gross motor skills, self-regulation, sensory processing, balance, coordination, range of motion, ocular motor skills, and cognition too.
And specifically during this presentation, we're going to focus on social emotional skills and executive functioning skills, which arguably, which I think Jess and I will win, is the recipe for growing happy, connected, and independent humans. That is the foundation for kind of creating the best life for our kids. So really important stuff. And we hope you get a lot from our time together today. So with that, and in our presentation, we always want to support anytime we're in front of an audience or working with other people, being together while being ourselves. So everyone is very diverse. We have different needs. We come from different backgrounds. We have different times of day that are optimal for us. This is way past my bedtime, but I had to jump at the opportunity to speak with you all. This is a great honor. So just take care of yourselves, recognize your needs. Cameras off are okay. If you have questions, put them in the chat box. We'll spend some time at the end answering anything or talking about anything you guys want to, but really just be comfortable to participate tonight in a way that works best for you. We recognize diversity and we want everyone to feel very comfortable.
All right, so today we're going to be going through what social emotional learning is, what executive function is, a little bit about regulation and co-regulation, why these skills matter to us, why we want to learn about them, and then strategies to support the development in everyday activities in your home. And our goals are learning mentors leave with new knowledge. You're going to leave with new knowledge about these skills, and then strategies so that you can intentionally, easily integrate them into your daily lives. Okay, so we're going to kick off with social emotional development. And if you look here at this next slide, this is a depiction or a model that shows the social learning continuum, and that is the center of all different supports, meaning the home, you can see home and communities, schools, classrooms. So everybody works together in order to support these skills developing a healthy child in both social and emotional learning. In addition, children with psychosocial disturbances can improve in these areas at a different time, a different rate, in different order and different methods to get there. So if there are kids diagnosed with autism, reactive attachment disorder, social anxiety disorder, ADHD, PTSD, childhood trauma, or a lack of attachment to a caregiver, these skills can develop in a different order in different ways. And here are just a couple of different skills at different age levels that are expected, but again, can be different depending on the individual situation. So a child between the ages of 5 and 6 is expected to follow simple rules and directions and learn from adults around them in both apologizing. So you're the models, right? We're the adults modeling those things and giving praise to those around them. So they hear you and they do what you do. At 7 to 8 years old, the child has the ability to understand that there are rules, as well as being able to take responsibility around the house for simple chores. At 9 and 10 years of age, friends are super important, as well as those risky behaviors. So those start to creep in a little bit. With healthy relationships around him or her, this is when the adolescent will start to learn healthy coping skills and strategies. So again, they mirror what they see. And we were going to show this.
You created
really cool video. It's about the adolescent brain, because I think sometimes we just think, wow, adolescence, that's such a tough time for kids and nothing makes sense in what they're doing, but it actually does make sense. So this video actually helps us to understand that better.
Excellent. Thanks, guys.
The adolescent period is absolutely amazing. People often give it a negative approach, saying, oh, it's a time where adolescents are going to lose their mind, or they're just immature, or raging hormones drive them crazy. These are all not only wrong, but they're myths that mislead us and actually disempower us. Whether we're adults or adolescents, they actually give us the wrong message and they make it so there's nothing we can do. So what is actually the truth? The truth is that instead of raging hormones, what's happening is we have remodeling in the brain in ways we never could have predicted. We now understand two big things are happening in the brain. Things you as an adult can support adolescents in developing well. And if you're an adolescent, you actually can use this to help your brain grow in an optimal way. What are those two things? The brain is pruning itself. So imagine that in childhood, you're growing like a tree and establishing all these branches and all these leaves are growing. In the brain, that means connections among the basic cell, the neuron, called synapses, are being established, and you're soaking in the knowledge of the world, and that's beautiful. The tree is just growing, growing, growing. But then what happens that surprised everyone is the brain begins to prune itself. You start carving away some of those leaves, some of the smaller branches, even some of the larger branches. And the reason for the pruning is to specialize the brain. While the child is developing in ways that are really generalized, learning everything they can about everything they can, an adolescent is going to begin to find their passion, to actually find things they like, things they really love doing, and to drive their development in that way. So pruning is actually a use it or lose it principle underneath it. That if you don't use something, you're going to lose it. So if you like sports or like dancing or like music, do those things so you continue to establish those circuits. The second thing that happens in the remodeling adolescent brain is myelin formation. Myelin is a healthy sheath that allows connected neurons to communicate with each other in a much more effective way. How? It's 100 times faster, the signal that's sent down a neuron to communicate with another neuron, 100 times faster, and after it fires off, it's 30 times shorter the resting period that happens. 30 times 100 is 3,000. So when you've put down myelin, you've made your neurons communicate 3,000 times more effectively. That's a great thing. Now, the great thing, too, is that you as an adolescent can actually use the focus of your attention to be aware of your emotions, aware of other people, to be engaging in activities, to be doing things with your thoughts that actually reinforce the parts of your brain you want to hold on to. So the good news about the remodeling story is that a field called neuroplasticity, how the brain responds to experience, shows us that what you do with your mind can change the activity and therefore the structure of your brain. So if you then come up with the statement that the ultimate goal of brain remodeling is to make an integrated brain, to differentiate areas, that's the pruning, and myelinate them, that's the linkage. When you increase differentiation and linkage, you make the brain more integrated. And an integrated brain is the pathway toward well-being. And you can do mind-sight exercises. These are exercises that increase insight, empathy, and integration. And if you do them as an adolescent, and you can also do them as an adult, you'll actually increase the integration of your brain as your brain is growing, not just during adolescence, but throughout the lifespan. And what's the outcome of integration? When integration is made visible, it's kindness and compassion. And so what we see through adolescent development is that our relationships become built on connections that are deep and filled with honoring each other's vulnerability, that's kindness, and supporting connections that are compassionate, filled with a sense of caring about other people and wanting to help them. This is the kind of world we can build as we move through life and support each other in our development.
So super cool information, right? And that pruning and myelination starts, in utero, and it goes till the end of our life. And just focusing on those things can really help shape our children, and the adults and everyone we really interact with.
Okay, so then we're going to go into the executive function development, and these next slides are going to give you an idea of what to expect as far as developing and building upon skills. So but remember, if there's any form of disability or trauma or other reason or delayed stages of development, children can display different age range skills, and they may take longer to develop over time. So again, patience is always key when looking at these developmental rates and sequences. Children are not on a piece of paper, they're all different. So we just need to look at where they are presently and help give them the supports to move them forward.
Yeah, and it kind of, I think our culture has a tendency of kind of putting our development on like a linear progression, and then slowly we've started seeing like growth doesn't happen in one direction; it kind of like happens everywhere. And really, growth throughout our life is kind of like a scatter plot. There's so many things that we are growing and learning, and in different ways that we're changing that we don't always recognize, or aren't always observable to outside eyes. So, like Jess said, this is a very general kind of scope and sequence. These are some big things we want to kind of be guiding our kids to be doing at these ages. So we strategically made these slides pink and black so we could get just the facts and focus on the big things. So starting with toddlers and preschoolers, um, we hope that they begin to verbalize a wider range of emotions beyond just happy, mad, and sad. Disappointed, scared, worried, excited, a bigger emotional library. They may still have tantrums, and I think this one could arguably go into adolescence, because, and those tantrums may be because of changes in routines or not getting what they want. Um, Children around this stage can complete simple errands like go get your shoes from the bedroom, bring your clothes to the laundry room, help me bring in the mail. Um, Kiddos can clean and put items away with minimal assistance. And in the therapy world, we think about minimal assistance as 25% or less support from an outside source. So that could be verbal support, it could be visual support, or like gestures with pointing. So minimal assistance with that one. Performing simple chores and self-care tasks with those reminders. So not just independently remembering, oh, it's bedtime, I need to brush my teeth. It's okay, it's normal to need reminders to do that. And inhibit unsafe or inappropriate behaviors, like they're able to know not to touch a hot stove, don't run into the street, don't hit, bite, push, those kinds of things. So then moving into kind of that next broad stage of development, some general executive function skills for elementary age students. We can begin to expect them to run simple errands with a time delay. So remembering to bring something home from school, or if they have swim practice, remembering they need their swimsuit and towel and bringing that back with them at the end of swim practice. Keeping track of their belongings, performing chores consistently that take about 10 to 30 minutes. That's super general. So if you add some neurodiversity to that, you may need to, give a little more wiggle room, give some more support, complete the majority of homework assignments without assistance. Working about at that upper elementary age, 1 hour max. But that needs to be when our students or children are kind of primed, stress is low, they're in their environment, they know what they need to be doing, they're well fed, they're feeling good, there's not a social conflict that they're working through. So kind of like at that optimal kind of homeostasis, they can complete most of their homework without assistance for up to an hour at that upper elementary age. Kiddos around this age could begin to plan simple projects such as book reports or presentations. And then remembering changes in daily schedule, which could include different things that they do after school. So, kind of remembering that on Mondays, I have swim practice, on Tuesdays, I have art class. And this weekend, I'm going to Grandma and Grandpa's house. So kind of remembering those changes. And beginning to kind of self-regulate their own behaviors. So they kind of are able to maintain the expected level of alertness and expected activity without an adult right next to them all of the time. In brick and mortar, it could be a teacher, but at home, it's you guys. So without that learning mentor with close proximity, kind of able to kind of regulate and work through maintaining that expected level of alertness for the task.
All right. So because I work with middle school and high school, I'm going to be going over those age groups. And again, there's a lot of variance in these. So by the end of middle school, we're going to be looking at them being able to organize, coming up with their own systems and what works for them. At the beginning of middle school, they're still going to need some assistance for that, some kids. Daily responsibilities, occasional tasks taking up to 60 to 90 minutes. Some maybe starting at a half hour and then increasing that. Carrying out long-term projects. I know a lot of times there are organizational systems that you use in order to go step by step, and you want them to be more independent by the time they reach the end of middle school in preparation for high school. planning time effectively, including their after-school leisure activities, and the inhibition of rule breaking in the absence of visible authority. So they start to have that understanding of having that capability of regulating themselves and making the right choice without somebody, standing over them. And then for high school, again, all of the previously mentioned skills, but again, end of high school, that they can independently organize their leisure time activities, like, if they're involved in any kinds of social activities, extracurriculars, obtaining employment, pursuing recreational activities during the summer, and then avoiding reckless or risky behavior. So sometimes those things are still within that high school age level, but by the end of high school, typically, those are coming closer to an end, but can go into the 20s. So depending again on that trauma. This next slide is another representation of executive functioning skills by developmental age, and this will be in your handouts and the slide deck too when you get it. So it's a little bit hard to read now, but it does break it down into all the different areas of executive functioning, like impulse control, monitoring oneself, problem solving. So that'll be in your handouts as well.
But this is a good thing. If this is an area that you are wanting to support the children in your home with, this is a great chart to just kind of stick up on your bulletin board or your refrigerator if you're trying to kind of learn about executive function and where should my child be? Do I have realistic expectations? What are those? This is a great kind of refrigerator or bulletin board visual to have.
Okay, so this graphic was something that Amanda and I made, and this was how we came about the idea for this topic of presentation, was because we were noticing a lot of overlap between social and emotional learning skills and executive function skills. Even some of the terms overlap. So what we wanted to do was talk about the just right situation. So when all of these things work together, when they're all getting worked on and they're improving and increasing, in that middle part is where self-regulation, monitoring oneself, and relationship skills can occur. If there are outliers such as like problem solving, decision making, emotional control, those things are going to negatively affect their ability to have those relationship connectedness skills with others.
All right, so let's get to the strategies. That's why everyone is here at 7:30 at night. What can I do in my home? What can I integrate? How can I actually help my family and my children with these skills? So first, we're going to talk about some social emotional strategies. And as we go, there's going to be overlap. Like that last visual Jess was talking about, these skills really overlap. A lot of that language does. So, you may see something that is really, I suggest as this is a great social emotional strategy to start talking about feelings and making your home a safe place to talk about feelings, but also it could be an executive function thing too. So try to just take it all in and recognize there's overlap and lots of good things, and you will have all of this sent to you when we're done. So you will have access to it. So starting with that, here is a social emotional check-in system, and I use this a lot with younger students that I work with. I use this in my own home with my son, and it gives a visual of different feelings. Some of you may recognize the zones color, and I like this because it takes it to the next step of combining emotion and then also what is your body feeling? What is your level of alertness? So when we're excited and we're silly, there's usually a high level of alertness or energy, and that's pleasant. But then, we might be feeling a little bit, jealous that we didn't get the toy that we want or didn't get to take the trip we wanted to do. So it also pairs that energy component of, red feelings or have a lot of energy physically that come along with it, but they're also unpleasant. So then that can help kind of take what tool or strategy, what do I do about it, to to another level. It's not just thinking based. It's not just talking. Talking strategies don't always work for some of our littlest people. We need physical strategies to regulate. So it's nice to pair the two. And we always start with checking in, kind of framing, how are you feeling? What emotion do you have? What sensation do you have? And then what do you need? So does my state match what I'm doing, or do I need a coping tool or strategy to kind of change that? So on the top right, there's a picture of some strategies. And I have literally drawn strategies and feelings on Post-it notes. So it doesn't have to be this beautiful. It just has to make sense to the kiddo and to you. And then on the bottom right, it kind of talks you through that regulation process of checking in. I feel this. And then number 2, I can insert tools. Sometimes one tool will do the job. Sometimes you need 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. And it's okay to take that time to really get to a good spot. And then that reflection piece, number 3, now I feel. So pausing after you use that tool or strategy together with your child, checking in, am I where I need to be right now? That's so powerful for that pruning and myelination process, and kind of forming the pathways like, hey, sometimes I just need to go for a walk and then I really do feel better. And that brings you to number 4, am I feeling better? And you can answer that question, yes, a lot, no, or maybe just a little bit, and then kind of repeat the process as you need to. So just one example of a visual representation for how to kind of support that regulation process. Oop, I think we might have missed. Okay, well, I'll just keep talking. And okay, so here are some examples of different calming spaces that you can have in your home. So your home is home, school, it's the playground, it's kind of everything in our unique situation of the RVA, which is absolutely fabulous. So if you don't already, having kind of a chill out space where, it's just a designated spot to go when you have to process through emotions, that's a really great starting point to making your home feel safe and talking about social emotional development and feeling. So lots of different examples. And this one in the corner is just such a great example on the bottom right. This was a hotel that I had stayed in, and it just reminded me that, yes, our little people need these calm places, but oh my goodness, us as adults, we need these places too. So when you're setting up your environment at home to help social emotional development, optimal space for learning, remember to make that for yourself too. Have your own quiet, calm space so that you can hold the space well for all your little people. This is a really nice little visual flow chart that I like to share with families when I start working with them about, a kind of a quick go-to of how to respond to big feelings in others in kind of a neutral but supporting way. Sometimes people take on the big feelings of other people. Sometimes, they brush them off, or sometimes that kind of triggers things within themselves. And then they have the reflection later of, oh, maybe I didn't support this situation as well as what I wanted it to. So we put this in here so you guys can have this. This is another great refrigerator bulletin board. Put it in your planner, come back and check in with it. Chart to kind of guide you in guiding your little people as we all have big feelings. Oh, this is the other one I was looking for. So here's another visual of an emotional check-in. This might be for an older student. So it's good to know that you can make them look whatever way you want. It's good to have your kiddos involved in designing it if they can. Let them take some ownership of it. Let them have the aesthetics that they think looks cool. It will give them more buy-in, and they're more likely to use it. So lots of different ways to kind of create a visual support to support emotional development and talking about feelings. Another great example of a visual support for weekly or monthly kind of self-care activities when you're wanting to build connection within your family. So modeling is huge when we are talking about developing these skills and building connection so that everyone feels safe to show up and learn these things together. And so self-care activities that you can do together as a family is just a great thing to integrate into your routine and your learning plan. Staying curious together is a great mindset to just be open and playful and learning together, whether you are in your 60s and 70s and you've had a great deal of wealth of life and experience and knowledge, or you're 3 and you just can't keep it together because you can't put your shoes on the right feet. And so just staying curious and learning together in every moment is really nice and important. And depending on different domains that you're thinking about, you might be focusing on more mental wealth. There's some examples there, or emotional well-being. There's also some things that you can do together as a family. Another great resource to have. And books. Raise your hand if you like books. You're probably a book lover if you're here. Yes. So these are some books that Jess and I have kind of put together through our career and through raising our own little ones. Some lovely books to talk about feelings and emotions. The Ninja Life Hacks are relatively new to me. My son is gobbling them up and loves them. He requests them during reading hour. And there's probably about like 90 different books out there, on friendship, on growth mindset, on nervous, on leadership, just really, really great and super fun to read. So if you haven't heard of those, check them out. And then some resources for us big people, for us grown folks. These are books that I keep on my library right next to my desk, and I reference them all the time, professionally and personally. Definitely, if you are a reader or an audiobooks person or a Cliff Notes, check out these publications. Definitely worth your time if you're looking to learn more. Oh, and then we are going to move on to kind of more executive function focused strategies. And we're going to kind of break it up into low tech or high tech, because in 2022, there are lots of options. So we want to give all the flavors out there. And the first kind of area that we're going to be talking about is how to provide a schedule or like a task list or a rhythm plan. So sometimes schedules or checklists don't work for some people. And so you have to find a different way to organize yourself and get things done. So rhythm planning kind of helps that crowd in meeting their goals and getting their daily things done. So this one is you probably have seen something like this in your day. It's just a visual with Velcro. You can make smileys, check marks. You can cross them off. You can take them off. You can, sometimes if there's emotion involved, you can take them off and chuck them across the room if you need to get it out. But this is just a nice place to start with some simple scheduling. If you're trying to establish a routine, it could be all day long. It could be a chunk of the day, like this is a morning routine chart. It could be, something that's hard, like a hard part of the day, like, that after learning, transitioning to playtime, or, playtime to learning time. That added visual support takes off some load and helps our kiddos kind of cognitively learn the sequence of things that they need to do. Here is another example of kind of a visual schedule of a routine. This one we used last spring in our house. because we were going through the phase of, you can't tell me what to do, when to do it. I'm going to do that. And so what we did was have pictures representing different tasks that had to be done during the day. We had the name of the day, and we just stuck them on the whiteboard. And my son knew that the expectation was we get all these things done, and we put them in the done pile. But he gets to choose when he does them, and that took a lot of release from me as the grown up to let him kind of have some freedom in the time that he did them. But we ultimately got through all the things he needed to do with a lot less struggle, and he felt a lot more in control and confident, and like he could pick the tasks that worked for him in that moment. And we also learned a lot about him as adults and as his caregivers. Another visual representation of a daily rhythm, this might be something more traditional that you could use for an older student. Time, activity, check it off. Boom, simple, done. You can put this on a PDF and have it on your child's computer. You can print it out, have the kiddo write it out every day. You can write in it. Lots and lots of different options out there. This is an example of one that we made with an IEP team that I work with. So on the left, this is the student's daily to-do list. And, it has the visual representation here of with the timer of how much time they're going to be doing their logic of English. And then what comes next, it starts with green and goes all the way to red to represent, like, once I'm getting to red, I'm all done. It has pictures of who, and then the actual pictures from the curriculum. So it is meaningful to them. And then on the right was, these are kind of what we call mini schedules. So we have that big daily to-do list, but sometimes you have to break it down. Actually, a lot of the time you have to break it down a lot more than just throughout the day. So, okay, it's reading time. What does that look like? And with this student, we were working on having her get ready for reading more independently, with removing some of that nagging from mom and dad. So we are teaching her the steps, and then we're supporting her as she's learning this schedule, and then we're helping her mom, who is her learning mentor, kind of fade back away from kind of being right next to her. So she knows for reading time, she has to set her timer for 5 minutes, get her supplies ready, and then she meets mom at her learning spot if that's something where mom is doing some direct teaching. There are some other goals that she has in here for independent work time. So it looks very similar, where she sets the timer, gets supplies ready, checks in with mom, goes to her learning spot, works for 30 minutes, and then checks out. These visuals have just been super helpful for her. And, that mini schedule piece is sometimes something we forget to think about. We get the daily schedule, but then what does it look like within reading? That's another support that you can make with your kiddo. And here's another example. If a checklist is great for you and your student or your child, here are some things that you can integrate into your day if you're wanting to kind of build connection and some more wellness. Like, there might be a time in your life where you're really, really focused on academics and you're getting all those academics in, but you want to add some more wellness and some more connection, and it's hard to fit those things in. So having a checklist specifically for that, separate from your academic, organization system. Did we spend time together today? Did we exercise? Or did we do something fun that we enjoy doing? This can be something that you could use to highlight an area that you want to integrate, like self-care or wellness. Another example of a weekly task list, we wanted to throw a whole bunch in here so you guys could see they can look very different. Be creative and know your people, and really the sky is the limit. This one is a kind of a wellness monitor, I guess we could call it, or a rhythm planner for an adolescent/adult who, like, visual or time schedule wasn't the thing. So at 7 o'clock, I'm going to go for a run. Not doing that. But on this list are all of the important things that this individual needs to do during the day throughout the week. And they know that, when they do it, they kind of color it out or cross it out. Today they worked out, so they know they need to work out 2 more times this week and they can choose when. So this is for someone who maybe is a neurodivergent, needs some more freedom from that time schedule, from that only one, they need options, they need choice. And when you're making this for an adolescent or an adult, it's important to kind of brainstorm those goals and activities together. So you really don't want to be like, you need to be drinking more water, you need to be getting your steps in. You don't want to tell them, kind of have that expert kind of, you need to do this lens, but kind of do it collaboratively. Find out what they need, and then also kind of guide them into, as someone outside of them, you kind of have ideas probably about what they would about what would enhance their life. So have that kind of collaborative discussion, build it together, get their permission. How can I support you? Do you want me to cross these things off for you? Do you want to do that? What do you need? And then really listening to that and using that as a strategy. And, if they say, I can cross it off, and then a month goes by and, they've only done 2 things on their list, like, hey, so we set this strategy, we are going to have you cross them off. We made this together, but we're not really like, how do you think we're doing? Well, you've crossed 2 things off. Maybe we need to come up with a different strategy. Would you like me to help you with crossing things off? Or how can we look at this differently? So that collaborative piece when you're working, with supporting adolescents, young adults, that's super, super important in continuing a positive relationship and fostering that. All right, Jess, I feel like I've been talking a lot, so jump in anytime if you have ideas or things to say. This is a parent learning activity organizer or a learning mentor organizer, an option for maybe someone who's just starting out, because as a learning mentor, your executive function is taxed a lot. You are planning and thinking and organizing all the time. It takes a lot of executive function to do what you all do. So staying organized and having strategies that work for you is super important. So on this one, the person put important things that they were trying to integrate into their day with their kiddos during learning time. And also, you see bath stretches and books. So not just learning time, but all time together. And then they left some blank spaces for things that might come in one day and maybe not the next day, but spaces to write in more if they need it. And then that reflection piece is big. And then they put it into a binder so they can review it monthly or seasonally, kind of whatever review period works for you. And as you do this more, you'll learn what works for you and what doesn't. One tip was to have a quiet time scheduled into your day that you can plan the week ahead. Some people maybe the month ahead, maybe it's the day ahead, maybe maybe you're up at 6 and spending a couple of minutes just to ground yourself and write out what you need to do. But finding that quiet time to plan and do your executive function work can really, really change the flavor of your day, your week, your month. Another example of a learning mentor planner, this one is a little bit more detailed, so maybe not like a first timer, but they've got something to keep track of when they're doing attendance and schoolwork, the monthly calendars. So also a goal tracker. So, maybe you're like, this month I really want to add in a go noodle every day after lunch because all my kids are just going bonkers and we got to get some energy out. So I'm going to write that on my monthly goal tracker. And then you can come back and see, did I do that? How many days did we do that? Was that helpful? This one has kind of that traditional hourly schedule, a spot for meals. On the page next to it, it has morning time activities, and then some spot for some curriculum. So if you're someone who's pulling from a lot of different curriculums, it can be nice to have one spot to organize yourself with all of that. And then we'll go into some high-tech tips. Woo. All right, this app I'm so excited about. If you are a high-tech person, check it out. Jess and I do not endorse or work for any app companies. We don't have favorites. We are just here to kind of share things with you guys to help build your library of tools. So this one is just one that I'm particularly excited about. Has lots of different options to set up visual schedules. I like this timepiece. So the visual of the device with the brush your teeth. Okay, we're going to brush your teeth for 1 minute and 45 seconds. I'm 7 years old. I don't know how much a minute and 45 seconds is, but there's a picture of what does it look like? What should I be doing? And then here's that visual timer that goes down. So it really helps with developing that concept of time and what should I be doing at that moment. So lots of nice options with this app. It is a paid app, so make sure you do your research and are willing to put that little investment in it. But love the visuals. Love the options that you have. Here's another app that can help with visual schedules and planning. It's in ChoiceWorks. So you can set up the calendar here. And then you can also set up like the routine piece, which is really similar to that first one we shared with the visual picture where you're taking off the Velcro. Here's just a nice virtual one. If you do a lot of traveling, it's nice not to be bound to paper. This one also offers some kind of flow charts with emotions. And so what am I feeling? If you're feeling angry, I can, talk to my family or I can take a break. So it offers that kind of emotional regulation flow chart in a digital form also, which is nice. And then here's one where you can just focus on one task and that timer piece. We have to wait in line for 5 minutes. How long is 5 minutes? I have no idea. There's that nice piece here. You can just hold up the visual, tap it. You don't have to talk all the time. It's nice to remove yourself that way. And then there's also that emotional library, a visual emotional library option with this app as well. So lots of nice things you can do here. Check it out. Good Karma. This one is another visual schedule app that you can check out. I don't have as much experience working in it, but it looks like it might be nice for, middle school or an older student, someone who's maybe working on some more independent tasks like feeding the dog without reminders. How often am I supposed to do it? It's not just one day a week. So this is another great app if you have, some older students that you are supporting. Some more cute calendar app options. I have a lot of kiddos right now who are loving the cats and the rabbits, so I had to throw these out there. There's one called Cute Calendar app with a whole bunch of cats all over it and the nice visual representation of time that we were talking about, kind of the traditional Google Calendar setup of what appointments and tasks, but then there's some more cats on there. So, if you're having some needing support to get some buy-in, this is a nice option. Same thing with the rabbits, but as you get things done, like you study, you get to add furniture to the bunny's room. You can help clean up the bunny's room. So there's a little bit more kind of gamified approach to this rabbit app. And up in the Flora app, you can actually grow your own forest. So as you get things done that you need to get done, your trees grow. You can grow multiple trees. You can pick the kind of trees you have. So if you have a kiddo who might be motivated by that, there's another option out there. And then this Emo over on the left is a really nice one, and it's a little bit more simple, but it has all those nice features of visual representation of time, routines, checking things off, keeping track of how often you're doing those things and setting goals. So even if you just scroll through the app store, there's lots of options with executive function supports. And still not looking finding what you're looking for. Don't ever forget about creating things in Google Docs, sheets, slides, purchasing things off of Etsy, Microsoft, and creating things on Canva. So as you're kind of get digging deeper into how can I help my kiddo be more independent, more responsible, more in charge of the things they need to do, you may find some strategies that work for a little while. And then you might find things that you need to tailor or things that aren't quite, helping in this area. So you may find yourself creating something for you and for your student or your child. And there's lots of options out there that you can do that in. So
All right, I think I'm going to give Amanda a break because I think she needs to take a drink or something. You did
thank
great.
you.
Okay, our next strategy for executive functioning is get ready, do, done. So the whole idea is planning backward to execute forward. Okay, so the next slide has to do with if your family is going through a new routine. And I know Amanda's talked about like when they've had to move to a new place, if there's a new situation coming up in the home. Transitioning to a new environment is difficult for everybody, right? Including the child. So it can be challenging. There are things you can do to make it easier. So getting ready, getting extra sleep, advocating for the needs ahead of time, getting set, gathering what you need, and then getting to know the new environment, taking the time to get to know the new environment, stopping extra activities. So don't add in a lot of extra things. Do some of your same routines to be able to get into the flow, and then little by little adding things in. And then it just says down here too, when transitioning to a new routine, always make sure to include time for things that just make you happy, make you as parents happy, make the students happy. This activity here is when there's a school project, an art project. This is an example. So again, planning backwards. So seeing what the final product is, and then what are the steps that need to be done and what supplies are needed. And then you work with your supplies, working through the process and coming up with that product. So if there are kids that have a hard time getting that starting spot, showing them what that end product should look like. And Amanda, this was one of your projects.
Yep. Just
on this.
another example. Yep. Just another example of the get ready, do done, but with a student who's working on writing and reading. So different level of skill, same kind of strategy of get ready, do done.
And then this is just, again, taking the task of wrapping a present, what it looks like, how long it's going to take for each step potentially, and then what materials you need. So those are all thinking steps, but planning backwards and then executing forwards. And then these are some of those resources, again, those Ninja Life Hack books that we love. And I cannot believe how many different sets they have. I actually bought the Brain Forest. I love that book. As an adult, let alone as a child going through and a parent going through it. So I love that book. And then the next slide are just our summary statements about how to grow these skills and how to grow them yourselves, and also to help your child to develop them. Co-regulation is down there. We're going to be going over that very soon, right? But I think what I really learned from this, going through these presentations, is that thinking out loud, like as parents, as adults, thinking out loud, letting kids know how we feel, how we're feeling in the moment, what we do for coping strategies, helping them to understand that we don't just have it all together, right? We use our own strategies, but we just do them more quietly and they may not see it. So I think I've really learned a lot with coming up with this presentation in that area, like vocalizing what I'm going through, what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, and what I'm doing to help with that.
Yeah, that's definitely a good one, and something to just remind us all as adults to be doing for our little ones, because there are a small percentage of kids who pick up on those things kind of naturally through life experiences, and there's an even bigger percentage of kids who kind of fumble through it and struggle. But if they have that voice of us talking out loud and modeling, maybe we can minimize some of that struggle, and they can pick up some of that teaching in a really natural way. So definitely that I agree, Jess, that thinking out loud is a great strategy. So wanting to just kind of end on, we're talking about two really big areas, kind of the foundation for raising healthy, happy, independent kids. And before any of that can really happen is we need to be regulated ourselves and meeting our needs, and happy and independent and doing and all of those things within our own life. And then co-regulating with our little people. And so this image is just so incredibly powerful. It's an image of a mother kissing a baby, and it could be replaced with a caregiver. It doesn't have to be a biological mother. Science has shown that anybody in that caregiver role who has a connection with someone who is younger has the same impact on them. And you can see that parts in the adult's brain lighting up from this warm embrace, this beautiful moment of connection. And you can see the exact same places lighting up in the child's brain. Those are mirror neurons. So what's happening with us is happening with our little ones, whether we recognize it or not. It's always, we are so connected. They are constantly learning their brain. They're constantly pruning and myelinating based on our experience and the way that we shape the world around them. So science is showing that is so real, and so incredibly important. And we just kind of wanted to end on the power of that and the power that you all hold as people in that role. This is just a visual of different ways to regulate. Oh, I feel like this is not a great spot for this slide, so I'm just going to go through it quickly, but feel free to ask us questions about it later. But we can be dependent regulators, completely dependent as infants on our caregivers to meet our needs. And then we co-regulate. And there was a period of time where science thought that this was just kind of an early childhood and elementary age, but we're learning that this happens through the lifespan. We are constantly co-regulating with those around us. So, stress is contagious, worry is contagious, but so is happy and joy. And so when you're feeling that and sharing it, you're also giving that gift to other people around you. And sometimes we have this vision of our kids figuring it all out and regulating on their own and just knowing what to do. And sometimes we think that they can be doing this at 7 or 6 or 12 or 45, but independent regulation happens, and it happens throughout our lifespan, but it really doesn't happen until much later in our life. And to have an expectation of a child using a co-parenting tool or strategy at a very young age is really hard and probably not going to be very effective. So really focusing on co-regulation and grounding yourself and modeling and using those strategies is going to be much more helpful long-term for our younger kiddos. Some more resources.
And we wanted to end on this too, because obviously we know the RVA and the priority is relationships, right? So that communication between school and home is very important to us at RVA, and and overall. And we wanted to share this quote with you. The school-home connection is incredibly important. Collaboration between educators and families provides a child not only with balanced, consistent, and successful approach, but also with a sense of security, knowing that everyone is on the same team. So we're all working towards what is best for the child. So in doing that with this presentation tonight, I'm hoping that we moved even closer to that goal. Thank you for your time.
Well, I would like to thank everyone for coming, and on behalf of the Mentor Series and all of the home mentors, I'd like to thank Jessica Murphy and Amanda Kletti for doing their presentation tonight.